I know Panthers Jets should be kind of interesting. You know, Sam Darnold's.
No.
Matt, you're not excited
Jets
for Panthers
of all the
Jets?
matchups.
Nope.
You're not excited for the Jets game?
Sweet.
Sam Darnold.
I'm not excited for
Panthers Jets.
I'm excited for it in the sense that like we might win. We have a chance in that game.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Bladen Kirk, joined as always by the two greatest co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. How are you guys today?
I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic. Matt's fantastic. We're all fantastic.
We're all fantastic. We're going to talk about a little bit of the NBA Summer League. For those of you who are new, we actually just got back from Las Vegas. We did our first in-person recording. It was a ton of fun. We're going to go over some of the preseason stuff, maybe go over some of the rookie quarterbacks, PJ Walker, Jordan Love. And then we have a bit of a listener mailbag for you. We have a ton of stuff to go over there. So we're going to hop right in. But first things first, Theo, do we want to tell people how your time in Vegas was?
It was a little bit extended. I stayed a little bit longer than you guys. It was funny because we all met up there, met each other for the first time, and then they went back to Cleveland, and I was supposed to go back to Phoenix, and in fact, I did go back.
We didn't go back to
Cleveland. Yeah, Columbus, Ohio. All those C sounding cities, but I was supposed to go back to Phoenix, and I did. I got in the plane, and we went to Phoenix, and we were in a holding pattern over the city, and there was there was clearly like a lightning storm happening over the city. So I was just vibing, listening to like music, watching the storm over the city, and eventually I realized that we weren't really circling Phoenix anymore, and we were headed in a straight line. So I checked my phone, and I go to maps, and we're moving very quickly in the direction of Las Vegas again. And we went back and we landed there, and they're like, we're going to try again in the morning. And I'm like, I am here in Sin City with no place to stay. So I wandered around the casinos until like 4 a.m. Then I went back to the airport, tried to sleep there. I got chicken tenders for like $22. It was an insane like 10-hour period, or usually probably even less than that. But
What's funny about it is that Theo the whole time was bragging that he was going to get home so much earlier than us because his plane left at 9 and was just to Phoenix, and our plane left at 11:30 and was to Columbus and Cincinnati. But it didn't end up working out that way because when I got back and I landed at 6 a.m. Cincinnati time, I was getting texts from Theo that he was trapped in Vegas with no credit or debit card.
Same.
Apple Pay saved me. Well, getting that done very quickly is what allowed me to.
How did you use Apple Pay without? Because didn't you have to turn off your card?
No, I didn't have to. I turned off my credit card, but Apple Pay is a new credit card pretty much. So I just applied for that, got it, and then I had another credit card.
You applied for the Apple Pay credit card? Yo, that is the biggest power move ever.
Look, there's no one better when it comes to being in a shitty situation than me. I was just trapped in San Diego, stranded there, not even a week ago. So I've been in 2 major Western cities with no plan, and I got home fine in both cases.
The real hero of this story, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but it's me. You
sent me a picture of your bed, and you were like, I bet you wish you had one of these.
No. Okay. That was because of all the trash you had been talking. But as we were like getting ready to leave, we had lost one of our chargers, and I let Theo have my phone charger. And if you hadn't had that, your life was over.
It kind of would have been because
you couldn't have
my phone would have been out of battery. I wouldn't have had Apple Pay. I wouldn't have known what time it was. Yeah, I kind of would have been screwed if I couldn't have charged my phone. But I brought a phone. Do you have my charger? Because I feel like I might be the villain too, because I probably lost your phone charger. But yeah, I think you have mine and I have yours. So I feel
like Mega Mind, a hero and a villain at the same time.
Anyway, that was just funny, but we have a lot to go over. So
yeah, I don't know if we have a lot to talk about with Summer League. We kind of spent the entire last episode on Summer League. I don't know if, Matt, Theo, you guys have any final points you want to make about that?
It feels like for every Summer League game that's fun to watch, there's like 2 or 3 that are kind of tough to sit through. And we were there for some of the ones that were tough to sit through.
We were also there for the ones that were fun to watch.
Yeah, it's a shame that the best one we were at had LaMelo and Jello, and both teams were going crazy and scoring a ton of points. The Hornets ended up losing. in the fourth quarter, but I talked about that already on the last episode.
Yeah. It was a fun time. As someone who doesn't like particularly, I'm not like a basketball fanatic. I had a great time. I really did. But I think it's about time we talk about the preseason games. The NFL season is finally coming and it's getting into full swing. We could talk about Zach Wilson, who had 9 throws, that 9 throw sample size. We could talk about Mac Jones, but I think the big stories are like Justin Fields and Trey Lance. We can also talk about Theo's guy, Jordan Love. Who did you
Those
guys
are definitely
like?
the guys who had like the big plays and like the big moments. Like Fields came in, threw a long touchdown to his tight end, ran for 1. Lance had the 80-yard bomb. Those are the more interesting stories, more than guys getting a couple, checkdowns in. So
Yeah.
I think when it comes to Trey Lance, at least, that was a very promising start for him, even though it was not perfect and the stat line doesn't look great because he was only like 4 for 15. When he came in and threw that 80-yard touchdown, that is the big thing, because there was a check down open there. Brandon Ayuk was open for a short thing right in front of him, and that is the route that Jimmy Garoppolo throws. Trey throws across the field over 2 guys and hits an 80-yard touchdown, and that is what you are getting with Trey Lance. And that in that division, right, the toughest division in football, you are not going to get and they have expectations. You do not get the luxury of starting the worst quarterback of the 2. And, they keep saying, Garoppolo, but Lance is chipping away at that and being like, you can't afford to start your worst guy. And if Lance can hit those throws and Garoppolo wouldn't, those are the kinds of things, even with his lumps, you've got to bet on.
I completely agree that like Lance is probably the better option, because even though like I posted a tweet about, I thought Lance legitimately outside of that play looked quite bad. He took, there were a lot of times where in the pocket, anytime he faced pressure, he just totally collapsed. His eyes dropped. There were times where he would tear down receivers. There were times where, there were obviously the drops, but there were also times where he should have had interceptions thrown. So I'm not going to sit here and totally, go all in, but I agree still a better option than just safe old Garoppolo.
Yeah. I mean, you've kind of seen how far you can get with Jimmy. You kind of know it's not like, even when the rest of the team is great around him, he's holding you back like crazy. And I know that Trey Lance is kind of raw, but the only way to fix that is to get him in some games. So whether you do it now at the start of the season, or you wait 9 weeks, or you wait a whole year, you're going to have to face that reality eventually. I say you just go ahead and start him. And then if he looks rough, you can throw in Garoppolo and give him a little bit more time. But at least from what we've seen, it's been pretty decent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what we've heard from camp is that he's also been showing out there also. So I would imagine that you start him week 1. That would be what I would do. Justin Fields, I think looked legitimately better. I think he had the same problems and I think both Lance and Fields kind of showed the same problems that we saw out of college. But I think Fields particularly, looked really strong, really poised, delivered some really good passes.
Fields had almost a flawless performance, I would say. He had one bad fumble, and when you fumble, it's no one's fault but your own. He tried to hit a spin move. He was loose with the football, and it got poked out. But outside of that, I guess he started a little bit slow. He got in a few drives in the first half, and I guess wasn't hitting much. But I mean, in that second half, the touchdown that he ran for was quite impressive. To get knocked backwards, there was absolutely no one open. He was looking to his right. One of his guys fell down. One of his guys was pretty blanketed. Pressure that the left tackle gave up, and to score on that anyway is something that the Bears haven't had for a long time. A guy who can score when everything else goes wrong. Right. And he had another big scramble. He hit a deep shot going to up the right sideline. That was good defense, but absolutely perfect placement on the throw. He looked calm. He looked composed. He looked very like he would roll out and he wasn't, going full speed. He was jogging. He was pointing. directing traffic where he wanted guys to be before throwing a laser. And
he was looking off defenders too.
Yes, he was doing these things. And then after the game, he came out and said, it was slower than I thought it would be. The game was slow to me.
And it was obvious.
Which they're gonna bring up that quote every time he has a bad game. Now they're gonna use that against him endlessly, but he did look really nice. The one, are they not like you saw people responding, oh, it's gonna get much faster.
It's like when Baker said
he had a good game.
It's like when Baker said, I woke up feeling dangerous.
Yeah. The one thing that I saw a little bit that worried me is that Fields is really, really mobile. He's great at running the ball, but he does not really avoid contact. He didn't at Ohio State.
No, he doesn't.
And there was one play where where he was running in the touchdown where he kind of went at, like he went at somebody, and Fields isn't small. Fields has gotten himself hurt doing that at OSU. And if he does that in the NFL consistently, I think it's going to be a problem for him.
Fields is
that's the one thing I saw that worried me a little bit. That's kind of nitpicking.
That's a good observation on Fields. I think although he's faster than Trey Lance, but as a nuanced runner, he is not as good as Trey Lance. As like when it comes to like a nuanced like understanding of where to like run to, he is not as good as Lance at that. I think and on the fumble, he tried to spin move a guy instead of just sliding. And that's when he fumbled. He tried to hit this spin move and was loose with the ball. He lowered his shoulder
across the plane.
When in the Clemson game, he got rocked and broke his ribs, and he just like took on the full brunt of that contact. He's fast, but he definitely needs to know when to slide and when to, not try to run through somebody.
Well, I mean, people underestimate how much being big helps these like rushing quarterbacks. Like Cam Newton was able to get away with that for a while with taking on contact because he's, 6'5", 250 or whatever. Fields doesn't have that size. So if you're not going to be able to run into people like crazy, then you need to do a better job avoiding contact. You see Lamar do a pretty decent job of that type of stuff.
I think Lamar is probably the gold standard of avoiding contact at quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But Theo, your guy, Jordan Love, actually looked pretty decent. I know you were worried there for a second.
I'm so happy for Jordan, and I will count myself in the group of Packer fans who are very skeptical about Jordan Love, didn't like the pick. Didn't love him as a player, but I'm happy for him that he kind of came out with it had the possibility of being a very toxic start to his career. If Rodgers, left and he came in and struggled, and the fan base could really turn on him. And, that's just a toxic, shitty situation to find yourself in as a person. So I was happy to see him take the field. Everyone was excited to watch him play for the first time, got a big ovation when he walked onto the field. And then he played well. And that excites me as a Packer fan. And I'm sure that's good vibes for him as well. And he's almost Favrean a little bit. He threw some risky passes. He threw some crazy passes, and he did it in the televised family night game too, where he threw into double coverage down the field, and he fitted in this like ridiculously tight window. It was incomplete, but like the window that he fitted in gave his wide receiver a chance where a lot of quarterbacks couldn't do it. He did it to a throw to the rookie Rodgers, where he was just blanketed and Love was like, I'm pulling the trigger, and he fitted in and hit Rodgers right in the hands, which is, it would have been an amazing catch, but it was an amazing throw. And there was one play where he faked a handoff the wrong way. So there was a miscommunication, and then he threw it into double coverage again, but he lofted it over the two guys that were in front of his wide receiver and gave his guy a chance. So like he was taking risks. He was being super aggressive, but they were all good throws. And if you can be aggressive and accurate, that's what makes you an elite quarterback, really, like getting those plays that other guys couldn't make. So will he throw a lot of picks in the regular season? Maybe. But again, I'm a guy who's like, the point of the offense is not to avoid picks. The point of playing offense is just get out there, hit big plays, and score points, put points on the board, more than just take safe check.
Yeah, there's any quarterback can go avoid interceptions. Anyone can do that. It doesn't make you a game manager. Yeah, it doesn't make you a game manager because you do stuff like that. I don't mean to bring up Teddy Bridgewater, but that's a big part of why the Panthers went with a Darnold type player over Bridgewater after last season. Bridgewater he's probably not going to turn the ball over. He's definitely not going to turn the ball over as much as Darnold, but they feel like Darnold cleaning up some of his mistakes has that big playability and that big, the opportunity to at least push the ball down the field, which is what you're looking for.
Right. Exactly. And so the potential with Love is there. I see it. And speaking of your Panthers, Darnold. Yeah,
speaking of Darnold, I don't think his job is all that safe because PJ Walker looked really, really good. He did. And at least after the last preseason game, it has created a scenario where Darnold has a couple bad throws in a regular season game in Carolina. You're hearing the PJ Walker chants.
And this is not a one-time thing for PJ Walker either. He played a game in Detroit last year, and I broke down that game, and he hit some really impressive throws. His arm strength and like ability to move is elite, really. Like his talent levels are way up here.
No, yeah, I really find that interesting. And everyone talking about the throw that they're comparing to Mahomes against the 49ers, that same level of throw, which, I saw that I was like, oh my gosh, like that was like legitimately like an eye-opening throw to see.
I mean, I don't want to hype up a guy who threw 5 interceptions in his first regular season game, but the talent is there, and Darnold's also kind of liable for interceptions. So it's at least good for the Panthers to have a backup who seems like they've got some potential.
The Panthers have options. That's the important thing.
Yes. They might not be the best options. It really options. If the Panthers had like a quarterback that you really trusted, they'd be a super fun team right now. They've got a ton of young talent. The receivers look awesome. They have, Christian McCaffrey, and then on the defense, J.C. Horn looks like he's going to be good. And you got Brian Burns and Derek Brown and Jeremy Chin. But we'll just have to see how Darnold plays out, I guess.
Yeah. PJ Walker, statistically last year, the touchdown to interception ratio, not ideal. You can say the same thing about Sam Darnold, but you look at the physical tools that Walker has, not a lot of backups you can't put a lot of the backups in the league in and expect them to make the plays that PJ Walker can.
You say a lot of the same thing about Drew Lock, where it's like backups don't have this kind of like otherworldly, out of this galaxy talent.
Yes. Well, Drew Lock had the best day of pretty much any quarterback in week 1 of the preseason, but
I saw
we
you
can't
live
tweeting.
Talk
too much about him, but
I saw you live tweeting. You were having a blast, and then I saw
looks quite fantastic.
Patrick Surtain pick 6. Are you guys going to let me talk about J.O.K?
Nope. Or you get 45 seconds.
I get 45 seconds starting now.
Yes.
Okay. A lot of people are worried, and Theo, I think you were one of those people where Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah was going to be a struggle in the NFL because guys like Isaiah Simmons and Deion Buchanan, where their position that they played in college doesn't really exist in the NFL. But I think if you're given these guys a really good situation with a really good coach that can figure out a way to utilize them properly, he is way too talented to not utilize on your defense, even if it's only in certain packages. His talent is out of this world. He's so fast. People were worried that he might not be physical. He is incredibly physical. He makes plays. He just makes plays.
He's physical in the sense that he makes a big tackle. He's not physical in the sense that he's a small dude who can...
He shed a block from a center who I can't remember who it was, the Jacksonville center, but he did a good job. He ripped through the block. Like, I don't know what else you want from him. He
did get blocked up one time, but I would say that he was my second graded linebacker, so it's not like I totally hate him. But
okay.
That's your 45 seconds. He did look pretty good.
He did look good. I was really excited.
Yes.
That had me feeling good. But I think that's all for NFL stuff. Let's hop into these voicemails. We have a bunch to get through and some emails as well.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Nish. I'm from Hartford, Connecticut. And my question for you guys was a start bench cut question. Receivers in the NFL. Okay. We're going with DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, and Calvin Ridley. I appreciate you guys. I love the podcast. And I hope you guys can answer this.
For like fantasy or off talent alone?
I assume it's off talent alone.
Yeah, I assume it's off talent alone. He probably would have said fantasy. That's tough, and we could probably do a segment on this just like on its own. I think I'm going to keep it quick. I probably want to start DK Metcalf. He's just so big and so fast and so strong. Then I'd probably go Ridley, then probably Jefferson.
You'd cut Jefferson and bench Ridley?
Yeah.
I think I would start maybe Jefferson, bench Ridley, and cut DK.
So DK is...
Yeah, I might go at the exact opposite of you. Maybe it's, because Jefferson is... I really do think I've gone back and forth on if I should rank him above Keenan Allen already. I think I'd like to see it another year, but I can't imagine he falls off a cliff. The dude is just too good of a route runner.
He is a really good route runner. I love.
He's got too good of. He's got speed. He's got great hands. Makes excellent catches. He's just got too much potential to be like great. And DK does not have great hands. He's not as good of a route runner as Jefferson is already. So from a talent standpoint, there's just things that I think both Ridley and Jefferson can do.
Okay.
I think DK still struggles a little bit with.
I think you're probably right about that. I think DK might have a higher ceiling as far as talent goes, but in terms of skill set, I think I would agree that both Ridley and Jefferson have a more elite skill set as far as. And
I really, and this is not like I have gone viral defending DK Metcalf.
Oh
before.
yeah, DK they're all awesome.
He is, I think definitely borderline top 10 and just a beast. And he could be in for a really big season because he meshes so perfectly with an elite deep ball thrower in Russell Wilson. I just think like if we're going like all around wide receiver, I think it goes Jefferson, and then would give him a little bit of an edge over Ridley just because he's a little bit bigger and more physical. And then DK has got the most holes in his game. So I'm going Jefferson, Ridley, DK.
I'm going Jefferson, DK, and then Ridley. I don't think that like having more holes in your game is necessarily like the only way to look at a player. I think what DK does is so hard to emulate from other guys. And I think having one of like Jefferson and then DK gives your team a little bit better mix of type of receivers that you have. So you can go at different corners. I get it.
You got two on your team.
This is why Matt's going to be my GM when I buy the Browns.
But this is why, like, if we were just ranking them, we weren't thinking about them being on the same team, then it would just be rank these three players. But if it's start, bank, cut, I feel like that's the whole point of it. So yeah, I'm taking Jefferson and DK.
Yeah. All right. I can see that. And they're all three about the same level. So it's not like you can really go wrong with any ranking, but that's just how I would do it. I'm going to stick with my guns, but that's good logic.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Moving on to the second voicemail.
Hey, stay hot. I'm Charlie. I'm from Chicago. My question for you guys today was, who are your favorite sports commentators or announcers or even group of commentators or announcers? I know mine is the NBA on TNT crew with Shaq, Chuck, Ernie, and Kenny. So I'm interested to see what you guys have as your favorite announcers / commentators.
Gus Johnson, number one by a lot. He's so good that like I watch games that I know he's going to be commentating that I wouldn't watch otherwise. And he's done so many Ohio State games, and it's always awesome. So him by a lot.
I would go with Kevin Harlan. I think Kevin Harlan, he's got the Timberwolves connection up in Minnesota. I think he's perfect. He's so much better than a lot of the guys too. I wish he was commenting NFL games more frequently because he's just a lot better than a lot of the NFL people. I like Collinsworth and Al Michaels too. Collinsworth gets a lot of hate. I like Collinsworth and Al Michaels a lot, both of them. So here's a guy. I don't care. It's awesome. I like them both.
Here's a guy.
It's tough, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of times where if you're listening to like a lower level game, and you have lower level commentators, it makes a huge difference. It really makes it hard to listen sometimes.
Yeah, even some of the local guys like in the preseason, you hear a lot of local announcers announcing for a national broadcast because it's preseason. And some of them I'm just like, oh God, like this is not pleasing to my ears right now.
I guess
you listen to game on mute. You listen to games on mute. So your favorite is probably like Kanye.
Okay. So I'll tell you this much. There was a point in time when I was listening to Cleveland Browns radio a lot. And
wow.
So I really love listening to Jim Donovan. Like I used him in a Browns hype video. He has just like such a knack for giving, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe what he does, but it's just beautiful. And like the way he can, put words to the Browns plays. I know
it's
Matt's
beautiful.
It is beautiful. I don't know, man. It gives me chills listening to Jim Donovan. If you're
because he's the only one you listen to because you listen to games on mute and then you just listen to Browns radio. So he's like the only one that you know.
Okay, outside of Browns radio, I do listen to the PFF podcast. I not to like because I guess they're our rival per se, but that's like the only other podcast I listen to. So I do like the guys there.
They're the enemy.
The other people that I want to shout out real quick, even though nobody's going to like know them because they're local to Columbus, is Common Man and the Torg used to have like the 3 to 6 spot on 97.1 in Columbus. And when I was like 9 and I moved to Ohio, I moved at the start of the summer and I didn't know anybody because I hadn't gone to school. So every single day I listened to every single broadcast they had. So they were some of my favorites too, at least when I was 9.
Yeah. If we're extending this to like non-announcers, I think the gold standard is always Mina Kimes. I think that she's the best one that ESPN has. I like Pablo Torres a lot too. Those two are good. There's a lot of chemistry there. I like Dan Le Batard too, a decent amount. And when he was with Poppy on Highly Questionable, I don't watch a lot of like ESPN talk show things because they're not making anyone smarter. But I think Mina will make you smarter. And she's actually putting an effort to do that. And the other guys,
you just like killed your chance of ever getting on ESPN.
I'll make people. Hey, ESPN, if you want someone entertaining that actually makes your listening audience smarter, hey, I'm your guy. So if you want that, but I think that they're kind of the best on like the mainstream like talk shows. So if we're extending this past announcers,
all right, moving on to the third voicemail.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Travis from Pittsburgh. Go Steelers. That being said, with an extra game being added to the schedule this year, what single season record do you think is most likely to be broken this year, if any? And who do you think would be the one to do it? Thanks. Have a good one, guys.
Tight end receiving yards, Travis Kelce or Darren Waller.
Yeah, that's easy.
And those two guys would have a good shot of breaking it without the extended game. But tight end receiving yards is a very achievable record. Both those guys are going to get a ton of targets. So yeah, I think one of them ends up breaking it, or maybe both of them end up breaking it. And then it's just whoever finishes with more yards. But that record has been getting pushed up recently a ton.
Yeah, I agree with Matt. When we talked about this, when we were making our offensive player of the year predictions, that Waller's got a good shot to beat it. Kelsey's got a good shot to beat it. Kittle's got a good shot to beat it. Eventually, I mean, Pitts could maybe beat it someday. There's a lot of talented young tight ends in the league right now that
what is it? Is it like 1377? I want to say off the top of my head.
It's very achievable. I don't know the exact number, but like, yeah, no, I think we were all kind of thinking the same thing as soon as he said what record is the most achievable.
Nice job, Matt. You were right on.
Oh yeah.
Matt's just that guy.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's got to be it without a doubt. I don't know if there's obviously any record is breakable, but that would be the one that I would lean closest towards. Our next question is an email question from Johnny Kress. Who has the biggest second year breakout? I like Claypool and Judy to step up, even though Claypool was solid last year. I don't know if first of all, I don't know if he wants us to just talk about Claypool and Jerry Jeudy. I assume not. But I do like Jerry Judy's breakout potential. I've heard he's done really well in camp. I know his big problem last year was drops, but he's arguably one of the league's best route runners.
Yeah, I think year one drops is definitely one of those things where you're looking at it like he can clean that up. I mean, Jerry Rice had the same problem his first season. Not saying that Jerry Jeudy is Jerry Rice, but
well, okay.
Even the greats can have drop problems.
Who was it that said? Was it Melvin Gordon that said Jerry Jeudy has the potential to be the greatest receiver of all time?
He's got like the mindset to be the greatest. Or something.
He had the mindset. I would say maybe CeeDee Lamb is probably the obvious answer. He had 900 yards last year, so maybe you could say last year it was. But I think he has the potential with Dak throwing him the football and airing it out. He has the potential to put up some crazy top 10 in the league in receiving yards type of numbers. So that would probably be my answer. It might not be a breakout because he did play very well last season, but he's what I'm going to say. And I would also say Alex Highsmith for Pittsburgh. He's an edge rusher that's taken Dupree's spot. There was almost no drop off between Dupree and him when Dupree got hurt. And in that defensive front, there's going to be a lot of pressure situations and a lot of one-on-ones for him to take advantage of. So he could definitely have, maybe a 10 sack season here.
Yeah. As far as Claypool goes, I really like him, but there's a lot of targets on that team. And it seems like they're planning to run it a little bit more. And he's kind of a deep threat, go up and get it guy. And I don't know how well that meshes with Big Ben because we're kind of questioning where he's at right now in his career. So I think the talent's there, but I don't know if things are really lining up for him to have a breakout considerably more from what he did last season because he put up pretty good numbers last year.
Yeah. Well,
One more guy.
Yeah. Oh,
it could be Edwards-Helaire. I think that he's going to get a lot more carries now that Bella's gone and he's got a year in the system. He's a little bit small and he wasn't worth his draft position, I think, last year for multiple reasons. But I do think that he'll get a little bit more run this year than he did last year. And in that offense, he's going to be facing guys that aren't too worried about stopping the run defense.
Yeah. I mean, he had 1,100 total yards in 13 games as a rookie behind a really bad run blocking offensive line. So you give him a full season and you give him a better offensive line and another year. I think things are shaping up well for him. My pick would have been Cam Akers for running backs if he hadn't gotten hurt. Yeah.
It's a shame. Well, I think we kind of got to go rapid fire through these next voicemails. So we're going to queue up the fourth one.
Hi, my name is Parker. I'm calling from Vermont. Just want to start off by saying I'm a big fan of the podcast. My question is mainly for Matt and Theo because Blaine doesn't know a ton about the NBA, but after the Portland Trailblazers' disappointing offseason, so far at least, with not signing any big free agents and Damian Lillard on the cusp of leaving, what do you guys personally think their future looks like and or what they should do going forward, whether that be trade Damian Lillard and blow it all up or try to put the right pieces around him? Again, love the podcast. Have a good one.
I don't take offense to that. I know I don't have...
Trading Dame is an intriguing idea. Trading Dame and blowing it up because I don't see how they build a championship team around Dame. I don't.
They've kind of... I'm definitely not a believer in ring culture. You can just be a good fringe contender, hope everything breaks for you. And if not, you still have a really good team, particularly for smaller market teams. So I don't think that it's necessarily ring or bust 24/7, but you have kind of run your course with Dame. So you're sitting here and he's unhappy and you really didn't make the moves to make me feel confident in you as a playoff team. So I would think about moving him if I got an offer that made me feel really good because you could move him and CJ and some of these other assets and you could have a pretty good stack of assets right there. They did trade away a couple of their picks for Covington, which it looked really rough now that it's happened. But it's tough to know what they should do because we don't know what offers are on the table for them. I know that if the 76ers made an offer with a bunch of draft picks at maybe Simmons or Tyrese Maxey, because I'm really high on Tyrese Maxey, then that would be something I'd really consider.
And you can't trade CJ because CJ, I don't think you can CJ McCollum. We know what he is at this point. He's never going to be a plus defender. He's 30. He's a bucket. He really is. And he's a good scorer. But he's 30 years old. His contract is not great to trade for. And you've got this guy and you're not going to really trade him for another star. I feel like if they were going to do that, they should have done it last year. They should have realized that this core is not going to take you to a title unless they get absolutely incredibly lucky and avoid every good team. like that would be crazy for them to run it. And they ran it back and they gave it another shot and it didn't work. They lost in the first round, albeit injured. But I just don't see, and they couldn't make any moves this year. I'm sure they would have liked to add someone to make them a championship contender, but they couldn't do it. And I don't understand why they would expect anything different this year. And when it doesn't work out again and they lose in the playoffs again, what's the direction you go in? McCollum is even less valuable. You're not going to if you trade McCollum, you're not going to get the pieces back to build some championship core. If you trade Dame and you totally blow it up and you thank him for his time and all the exciting moments in the Trailblazers history, you can let the era run its course and also build for the next era instead of letting the era run its course without building for the next era, So that's where I kind of see it going.
Yeah. The one thing I would consider if there was like a move to make, I would give if you could keep McCollum and trade for Miles Turner, I would do it. And I would give up a lot to get him because I think he alone can totally change the defense on the team. And then you still have a one option and then maybe a two option in McCollum that you trust, with Powell there as well. That would be pretty strong. That would probably be the strongest thing they could do while keeping McCollum. But even then, I don't know if they're really a favorite.
Yeah. And then it gets really rough for the future then if you don't win a ring. Yeah. And I don't know if they would win a ring with the Lakers and the Nets running around. So they're in a tough spot. They really are. But they're going to run it back this year. And then after that, I kind of see it blowing up and hopefully better luck next time.
Well, I think if they want to win a title, they should trade for De'Aaron Fox. Otherwise, if they're going to blow it up, just trade Dame to the Cavs. So
yeah, De'Aaron Fox and McCollum and Dame really sounds like a well-built team.
But I think we can move on to the fifth voicemail.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm a big Boston sports fan.
Kevin.
Love the podcast. I just have a quick question for Theo and Matt. Sorry, Blade, then I'll talk to you after your ice cream taste. But who do you think is going to have more relative success next year between the Patriots and Celtics? Thank you.
Dude, Bladen is just getting shut out of this episode. You can go ahead and hang up from the Zoom call, dude.
Yeah, I'll see y'all later. Hi, Kevin.
We heard him. All right. More relative success this year, the Celtics or the Patriots is an interesting question. And I would maybe lean the Celtics.
I probably like the odds of the Patriots getting out of the first round of the playoffs more than I like the odds of the Celtics getting out of the first round of the playoffs.
I don't know how good the Celtics are, but I think
they're pretty good. They made some decent moves. I don't know. That's pretty tough. Both those teams are probably decent. I guess the Celtics are more likely to make the playoffs.
The Celtics are maybe
the Celtics
are maybe like the Vikings of the NFL, where they've got a good roster, but there's some holes, and maybe you don't. There's some star power on the Celtics, but maybe you don't think they're quite title contenders.
The Patriots probably have a better chance of making a deep playoff run than the Celtics do. But I think the Celtics have a better chance of making the playoffs. The East is really tough right now, though. So it wouldn't be impossible for them to be a play-in team, but I kind of do expect them to be a little bit better than they were last year.
The Celtics have a higher floor, I think, and a lower ceiling because basketball is just
the nature of the sport.
It's very top heavy. And with one game playoffs, more weird stuff can happen with the Patriots. So I think the Patriots have a better chance of missing the playoffs, and they have a better chance of winning the finals or winning the Super Bowl in a weird way.
I think their chances of winning the finals are not great at all.
No, they're terrible. They're not good. But as far as winning percentage goes, I could maybe see the Celtics have a better regular season winning percentage than the Patriots.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, that's probably where I'm at.
All right. Well,
but I would say Celtics because I do think the Patriots aren't going to make a deep playoff run. I don't know if they've got the horses to do that quite. But
yeah, I kind of agree there. But I think that moves us into our next voicemail. I think this is number 6.
I'm Nolan. I'm from Pennsylvania. And if the Packers, which they're going to win the Super Bowl, if they don't, where do you think Davante Adams is going to go, assuming Aaron Rodgers leaves after the season?
Oh, well,
Vegas.
Yeah, that's honestly a very strong possibility because I think what Davante is really worried about is money. And he wants to be the highest paid wide receiver in the league because he's really, really good. And I get that for him and I understand that for him. But here's the thing. DeAndre Hopkins is making $27 million. He's the highest paid one by like a good $4 million margin, $4 or $5 million margin. So to up that, you're going to have to pay Davante Adams like $29 or $30 million a year to be the highest paid player in like wide receiver in the league. And as much as I love Davante, that is a lot of money for a wide receiver. That is a lot of money for a wide receiver just because and like to be the second highest paid, like it's like 27 million and then like 23. There's like a big gap there. So like to hold it to DeAndre Hopkins standards is like a weird outlier almost. So if he's going to leave, he's going to have his choice on where he wants to sign. And he has said multiple times that he would like to play with Derek Carr, his old teammate at Fresno State. And I think the Raiders would definitely benefit from him being there. So the Raiders is the obvious. The Raiders
they would
is the
definitely be
answer.
willing to give up the money to keep Derek Carr happy. Oh yeah.
Yeah. The Raiders is the answer that I would say. And it doesn't matter. Even if we win the Super Bowl, I think he could still leave just because it seems to be that he wants to be the highest paid wide receiver, which would be a ton.
It's the last dance. It's the last dance.
It is the last dance.
They're gone. But I think that kind of sends us into the next email question from Ben Gargano. I probably butchered that last name, but he says, "Hey, I'm Ben from Maryland, and I wanted to know your guys' top 3 safeties in the league right now. For me, it's Derwin James, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and Justin Simmons. I think you got to put Jesse Bates in there. I think Jesse Bates has to be included in that group. I can agree putting Minkah, and I do like Derwin James a lot. But I feel like leaving Jesse Bates out of there is kind of criminal.
I would say once you get to the highest level, they're all about the same. I would say probably Derwin's probably got the highest ceiling when he's healthy. His rookie year was pretty phenomenal. He can erase, and he's good against the run. He can erase slot wide receivers and tight ends. I would put Derwin up in my top 3. I would say Justin Simmons is also probably in my top 3. He's, again, really good in the box, really good in coverage. He can do a little bit of everything. He should lead what I expect to be an elite defense. And then as far as pure coverage guy goes, I would maybe say Minkah. Those might be my top 3. Simmons, Derwin, Minkah. I think I'll go with that. Bates is really good too. And he would probably benefit if he didn't have to put out all the little fires that the Bengals do. But maybe Bates over Minkah. I don't know.
I feel like Bates. I know that Bates had PFF's highest coverage grade last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, coverage grade isn't everything, especially when it's from a single source. But I just feel like, he's been, last year at least, I felt like he was kind of the gold standard for coverage at the safety position.
He was, and he was the only thing. The Bengals, he was just running around fixing all the problems that the Bengals front 7 screwed up. And he really was their only playmaker, and the only reason why that defense was like, if they didn't have him, it would have been really, really rough. So maybe I'll put him over Minkah, but I don't want to disrespect either. So I'll kind of leave it. I'll kind of be wishy-washy and mention them both. Budda Baker. I also really like.
How many
Budda
games
Baker.
How many games has Derwin James played in the last couple of years?
Not enough.
Probably like 17, maybe like 20 in the last 3 years. Because
I might. Yeah, I don't know. Derwin, I want to put Derwin James up there, but he's so injury prone. But I feel like that's kind of a bogus reason to leave somebody out. But it also kind of does.
If you're going just off
then
talent.
I can go Simmons, Minkah, Bates, and then I can leave out Derwin James saves because of injuries and not disrespect them. But those guys are definitely the top guys.
Yeah.
You could include
is also up there.
You could include Tyrann Mathieu. Theo, I saw you were going to say Budda Baker. those are, I think, again, you said it best. Once you get to kind of that highest level, it's really hard.
You're splitting hairs. Yeah. Between Minka and like Bates, like the differences are not that.
It really is negligible. But I think let's move on to the next voicemail, number 7.
Hey, Stay Hot Pod. This is Brian from New Jersey. Big fan. And I was wondering if you could choose any superhero to join a professional sport, who would it be and why? Thank you.
Well, it can't be someone unstoppable because that wouldn't be fun to watch. I don't want to watch someone who's like literally like infallible.
Superman. It can't be Superman then.
I wouldn't want to see it. They would just win all the time. I want someone who's like better than everyone else, but still someone who can potentially be beaten. So maybe I would say, do we think like Hawkeye would be like a super deadly accurate quarterback? Can I say him and just like watch the most accurate quarterback ever? Well, also
I feel like you would, if you wanted something like that, I would almost rather have Captain America.
Yeah, that could be. He'd be an
like Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen him throw that shield, man? Like, come on. Or like Peter Parker's Spider-Man.
Our producer chimed in and said Daredevil, a blind guy. Just like see what he can do on the field. That's a good choice. Let's see what he got. Can a blind superhero beat 11 seeing defenders?
That's actually pretty interesting. Okay. Actually, no. I don't even know if you would count him as a superhero. But who's the Taskmaster? I
didn't watch Loki. I'm out on Marvel. I'm not watching anything after Endgame.
No, not that. That's dude said Loki. That's from that was from what is it?
It's either WandaVision or Bucky.
I can't. No,
it's not WandaVision.
There's like 40 movies, and you got to watch them all.
It was the Black Widow movie. Taskmaster is the again. I don't think you can call it a superhero, but they basically just can copy everyone's moves. Okay. So anything that anyone else can do, they can do.
Okay, that's kind of an interesting choice then, because you could have like all the traits of all the other players, I guess. And
so like that. So I don't know if they're a superhero though, because they're kind of a villain in the movie. But I think that's an interesting choice.
I think that's an interesting choice.
I think I'd go with like Superman, and then he could like laser the other players.
Hulk and just like have him literally kill a man.
Hulk smash.
Watch like the rest of the league like literally die and like break their necks trying to do this. They wouldn't even you would not get on the field and stop it. Like you couldn't have a league.
If you saw that Superman was your opponent, you wouldn't get on the field.
He'd be nuts in the egg.
Here's a question. I want an NFL player to respond to this.
Juggernaut.
Would you get on the field? Would you step on the field and lace up your cleats if Superman was your opponent? That's what I want to know.
They would all say yes because they're NFL players and they think they can do anything. But when it really came down to it, they would probably die trying to stop Superman. He's faster than a speeding bullet. Come on, he's literally going to kill you. I don't want to see
win or die trying.
I like Adrian Amos. I like Darnell Savage. I don't need to see them, trying to fit the run. Right? I don't need him. I don't need them to beat Superman. In the exactly. They're going to die. They're going to die. I don't need my guys dying. I want just some guy out there. I'm going to say Hawkeye and put him at quarterback. I just want to see him hit all the throws. I don't want the league to be ruined by a superhero.
Awesome. Moving on to the 8th voicemail.
Hey, it's Alex from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I just want to know what's you guys' most anticipated game of the upcoming 2021 NFL season? Thanks.
Regular season games?
I'm going to say Packers versus Browns on Christmas because we got the me and Bladen rivalry, and I need Bladen's Christmas to be ruined by the Green Bay Packers. So I'm going to say that one.
That's the thing about Bladen. It really will ruin his whole day.
I know. I need Bladen.
That's like not a joke. Like it will ruin my day. Like unironically.
Christmas. Yes, sir. I need Rodgers.
Prize over every regular season game. It's a tough thing.
You should have seen me in 2017. I am looking forward to Browns Packers. I'm looking forward to every Browns game, to be honest.
All the Browns games. Great answer, man.
Patriots Buccaneers is another one.
That'll be good. Tom Brady's his revenge game, the last team he has to beat.
He can try to get a win on Cam Newton for the first time in his career. And I would say Patriots Panthers. for me, assuming that Cam Newton is playing.
I know Panthers Jets should be kind of interesting. You know, Sam Darnold.
No.
Matt, you're not excited
Jets
for
of all the
Jets?
matchups.
Nope.
You're not excited for the Jets game?
Sweet.
Sam Darnold.
I'm not excited for
Panthers, Jets.
No, in all
I'm excited
reality,
for it in the sense that we might win. We have a chance in that game.
Okay, in all seriousness, I know it's a Browns game, Browns Chiefs. I want the proof. The Browns are built to be able to beat the Chiefs. That's what we've all been told. I want to see it in action. I do.
What makes you say that?
What do you mean?
What makes you say that the Browns are built to beat the Chiefs?
I'm just saying, that's kind of what we've been trying to do this offseason is be able to beat the Chiefs, right? Like as fans, that's what we're expecting. We went into last year, we were close against the Chiefs. Yes, Mahomes went down, but now we're coming into a year where we've built up our defense a little bit more. We're still.
What if they lose 40-0? What if they just get crushed?
It'll ruin my day. It'll ruin my week, honestly.
You
and
spend
I know it's
all
like
these
the
resources
Chiefs, so you
to
can't
beat the
be mad,
Chiefs,
but
and you don't
come
beat
on.
the Chiefs. What if you could end the season? You could start the season on a really bad note.
Yeah, you really.
But that is a fire week 1 game.
It's going to be really good. It's the only thing that sucks is that it's not a primetime game, but I think it'll be a ton of fun to watch. So that's my game. But I think we can move on to voicemail number 9 now.
What's up, guys? It's Abdul, aka the guy that Theo owes a Khalil Mack player review on.
I will get that when I get the all 22.
The question that I have today is, so the NFL Top 100 list came out. What is the biggest snub that you think you guys have seen on the list so far?
Eric Kendricks being at 70 below KJ Wright. Eric Kendricks, in my opinion, is potentially the best middle linebacker in the league. And maybe I will say that he's the best middle linebacker in the league, and KJ Wright is not in his tier. And yet he was ranked above Eric Kendricks. That's the one thing where I'm like, that is not correct.
I've seen Tre'Davious White. People think he's ranked a little bit too low. I kind of agree with that because he's below Jarvis. And there was another receiver that he was below that people are like, how does that even make sense?
He's below JC Jackson, and he's definitely
he
substantially better corner than JC Jackson.
He should be higher than
JC Jackson.
You can always say all of the offensive linemen, every single one of them.
Yep,
like Zach Martin at 85? There's not 84 players better than him.
Yeah.
And I know I say this, I've said it 20 times on the podcast, but there's some receivers on that list that are not better than DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Moore is better than some of the guys who are making this list. And there's probably a lot of other receivers like that too. But I don't know.
Has the whole list come out yet? My Wi-Fi has been kind of trash all day, so I haven't really been able to keep up with it.
No, I think they're at the top 40. Jair Alexander is 41. I think he is every bit as good as Jalen Ramsey is. Like literally Jair Alexander and Jalen Ramsey are going to have a 40-player gap when you could argue that Jair is better. Seriously, he's shut down. Mm-hmm. He's locked down. He's an island. Mm-hmm. Put him on the number 1 wide receiver and don't worry anymore. It's the same deal with Ramsey, and Jair is number 41. So that's another snub, biased Packer fan here. But Eric Kendricks is the number 1 at 70 below KJ Wright. It's give me a break here.
I don't think Eric Kendricks is the best linebacker. I think there's a pretty good argument that Fred Warner's kind of in a league of his own. Bobby Wagner, maybe. But I don't know. I think it's definitely debatable. I suppose those are probably the top 3 guys, but to have him at 70 that far away from those other guys is pretty unreasonable. Are you guys worried that Tom Brady is going to be number 1?
He'll be number 1. It would shock me if anything else happens. I bet you that he will be number 1.
It should be Rodgers. I mean, he
should be Aaron Donald. It should be Aaron Donald and Mahomes number 2. And I think we should make our own top 20 lists. I think that's something that because the players get rank their top 20, and everyone will say to us you didn't play, you can't judge the game, you why are you talking? And then the players make their lists, and it'll be it's trash, and it's just
they don't think to rank offensive linemen, and
no, they don't rank offensive linemen.
They also have their own biases.
They rank their like friends on the team and they rank people in their division because that's who they have to face all the time. I remember watching they released one anonymous top 20 and Brent Grimes was like top 3. Like, oh, I wonder whose list this could be. and Mike Evans was like number 4. The guy that Brent Grimes.
Marlon Mack, like in top 20.
Yeah. There was one with like Marlon Mack at like 11 above Aaron Donald. And like half the list was NFC or AFC South players. So it's like, oh, I wonder if this is a guy on the Colts. like they're not good at it. They're not good at ranking it. So you shouldn't take it too seriously because the NFL players really just vote for their friends and guys they play against all the time. But those are my Kendricks and Jair are the biggest snubs I've seen so far.
It's totally fair. All right. We have one more email question from we have an email. We have 2 more email questions. First from this BD. Predictions when Donda is dropping. This is mainly a Theo question.
Have you seen when Mike Dean is posting?
No. Theo, I hate to cut you off, but he says this is mainly a Theo question. I don't take offense normally when a question is like not directed towards me. I take offense to this. I'm the biggest Kanye fan of us 3, and it's not particularly close.
You are.
You're one of.
You do like Kanye a lot. I don't think it's going to drop. Mike Dean is fed up. He's on Twitter talking about how it's toxic there and how he's out of it and he's glad to be gone. Like, and at some point it's embarrassing for Kanye to do this. Like, it's stupid, man. Like, I'm over it. I'm over him. And I don't think it's going to drop. I don't know. Bladen, how about you?
I'm going to keep faith. I'm going to keep believing that it's going to drop at some point, and maybe that's blind faith, but I don't care. I want to see it drop. I've listened to both listening parties. And they were both fantastic. And if it doesn't ever drop, I will be devastated.
Kanye just needs to realize,
as if the Browns lose, but
Kanye just needs to realize that like it does not matter how good or bad it is that it will be considered awesome. Like, oh, he's perfecting the production. I guarantee how many Kanye fans really like care?
I do.
Probably like.
Jay-Z had in the first listening party, Jay-Z has his verse on the Watch the Throne 2 thing. Worst verse I've ever heard in my life. And people said that it was like, oh my God. It was horrible. And at that point I realized it's like, there's no point in anyone saying that anything is bad from him because
I respect the perfect, like him wanting to perfect his craft, but you're never going to find what you make.
He's not trying to perfect his craft either because he's like doing push-ups in his room and he's wearing this big spiky outfit. And he's giving people haircuts.
That's what I do. I'm trying to perfect
my
craft.
But here's the thing though. Push-ups. I live across the street from a bar and the amount of Kanye I've heard coming from that bar has risen about 200%. So he's probably selling like as much as he would even if he did drop the album just with streams on his other songs. So moving on.
Yeah, moving on to the final email question from R_Egger45. Would you rather be stranded homeless in Vegas for a week or be stranded homeless in San Diego for a week? You can't call your friends. You can't call your friends. So that's I guess that's the only contingencies that you can't call your friends.
I would say you got to go with San Diego here because we're all under 21 for now. So at this moment, there's not much for us to do there. Like you can't, drink, you can't gamble, you can't do all the things you would expect to do in Vegas. And it's also everything you do in Vegas is super expensive because the food is super expensive. Gambling is obviously, I guess it could be negative expensive if you win, but if you don't, it's just throwing money away. Like it's just an expensive place to be. San Diego's you could just hang out on a beach and for a week and be happy. You can't hang out in a casino in a week and be happy, like there's got to be some like natural chill spots if I'm going to be there stranded. And I don't think Vegas really has those spots. I'd rather I could be fine for a couple days with a tent and like on a beach with nothing. I could do that. I couldn't do that in Vegas.
That's fair. I respect your choice, but I would probably agree that San Diego is probably the better place to be if you're getting stranded. If you're getting stranded. So we have one more final voicemail. Let's hit it.
Hey guys, it's Sam from Charlotte. I was just wondering what you guys think are the best uniforms in sports. Thanks guys, love the pod. Keep it up.
You're from Charlotte. You already know. Hornets, baby.
They are nice. They are nice.
Yeah.
The Miami Dolphins throwbacks are my personal favorite. The Arizona Kachina jerseys I really like. And I would maybe say there's a couple hockey jerseys. Bladen, how about you?
I like the baby blue Chargers.
Those are good.
The Navy Chargers are pretty sweet. Those are some of my favorites. But I'm sticking with my team. Sticking with the Hornets.
Theo,
like the throwback.
You thought I was going to say the Browns. You thought I was going to say the Browns, didn't you?
Yes.
No, I'm not that biased.
I love it's a valid pick because I actually do love the Browns uniforms. I think they have beautiful uniforms.
They're good. They're good now, but they had like a stretch where they were like really bad. Like if you remember when like they did the reveal with like Dante Whitner, like with that team, those uniforms were kind of cringe. I can't lie.
Yes, but they're great now. And our producer says ugliest uniforms in sports, and he's just wrong. They're very clean. I think that they're got the unique color scheme. They stand out instantly. I think the Browns have great uniforms. Especially since they went to the kind of the throwback, more vintage looks, which works better. If you're trying to make a modern, like sleek looking uniform like they did, it can't be orange and brown. But if you're going like kind of old school, orange and brown works. But I would say the Dolphins, their throwback ones, just the aqua, I think that does a best job capturing the vibe of Miami. And just in general, he's got a cool personality in the logo. I like that one.
Miami Vice, the Miami Vice for the Heat. Those were kind of
overrated.
Not the overrated. Not the new ones. Not the new ones. I'm
look
talking
up, look up the 2009 All-Star jerseys. Look up the white hot 2013 Heat jerseys. Those are two of my favorites.
Those are good too.
Very reasonable. But I think that kind of wraps things up on our end today. As always, tons and tons of content coming on all platforms. The NFL preseason continues to move on. Your fantasy league drafts are happening ever so shortly. Look out for a fantasy mock draft episode coming pretty soon. Tons of content to discuss on all platforms. Don't miss out, as always. From Corn Boy, Dunk Boy, and Lemon Boy, we'll catch you on the flippity flop.